Singapore.
This is my country. This is my life. This is my people. We dug our toes in.
Lee Kuan Yew in his own words on rallying the nation.
Judgment or wisdom.
Singapore had no oil, no gold, no farmland, not even fresh water. And yet, within a single generation, it became one of the most powerful financial centers in the world. Today, more global money flows through this tiny island than entire continents. But how did that happen?
Singapore, site of the new naval base, is a city of over 500,000. The native worker travels by motor bus, for the climate is very like a hothouse, and nobody does much walking. The scene is very different on the Singapore River, which is a joke among residents of the city on account of its strange odors. Here there is always immense activity.
In 1965, Singapore was broke, vulnerable, and recently expelled from Malaysia. They had no natural resources, no army, and no reason for global banks to trust them. So Lee Kuan Yew and his team did something radical. They decided to build trust before wealth. What followed was one of the most disciplined and deliberate financial transformations in modern history.
Because nobody, no group of men have got the will, have got the capacity that do more.
He said, "We had nothing except a will to survive, and a government that would not tolerate corruption, inefficiency, or laziness."
All night the counting goes on. While
Lee Kuan Yew knew that wealth doesn't come from printing money. It comes from building a system that capital can trust. And that began with law and order.
The departure of troops from Australia on their way to reinforce Singapore.
The British had left behind a working legal system.
As part of the board's celebrations to mark the completion of the first 5-year program and
So Lee Kuan Yew decided to preserve it.
Prime Minister Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said,
Singapore kept English common law, enforced contracts quickly, and punished corruption harshly. Then came the next pillar, governance. Instead of stuffing ministries with political friends, Lee Kuan Yew professionalized the civil service.
Singapore should not be shy about having some of the highest paid civil servants in the world.
Top officials were paid like private sector executives, so they had no excuse to be lazy or corrupt. This was radical. No post-colonial state had done this. And it worked. In a region plagued by coups and chaos, Singapore became boring, and that made it powerful. By the early 1970s, Singapore had order, safety, and trust. But no real financial engine. So in 1971, Lee Kuan Yew and his team made a move few developing nations dared to try. They created the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the MAS, a central bank with one mission, financial credibility. No printing money. No bailouts. No political interference. He said, "We kept inflation low and our currency strong. Stability would be our reputation." Instead of begging for loans, they built up reserves. Instead of manipulating markets, they attracted real capital by earning the world's trust. Singapore wasn't trying to grow fast, they were trying to grow clean. And that made them one of the most attractive homes for global capital in Asia. By the late 1970s, Singapore had built something rare in Southeast Asia. Stability, credibility, predictability. So now, the world started watching. Global banks like Citibank, HSBC, and Standard Chartered began moving operations into Singapore, not just to lend, but to grow. And Lee Kuan Yew made sure they stayed. He said, "We welcomed banks, but we regulated them. We allowed markets, but not chaos." Unlike many other countries, Singapore didn't lure capital through secrecy or shady tax games. There were no shell companies on islands, no hidden billions, no laundering. Instead, they offered clarity, legal protection, and a clean playing field. This made Singapore the perfect East-West bridge, a place where Western capital could meet Asian opportunity, with no funny business in between. So here's where it gets really interesting. Singapore didn't just get rich. It built something most countries still struggle with: trust in the system. C. They didn't hand out welfare. They didn't promise free everything.
The government of Singapore is trying to persuade the 2.5 million population that spitting is a bad habit.
What they did was actually smarter and harder. They made people save. The Central Provident Fund basically forced savings for housing, healthcare, retirement. People didn't rely on the government, they partnered with it. And over time, something really powerful happened. People believed in the rules. Because the rules were clear. And they applied to everyone. Corrupt officials? Jailed. Lazy leadership? Replaced. Want to move up? You can, but you'll have to earn it. That's what Lee Kuan Yew called a fair, not welfare society. Not equal outcomes, but equal expectations. And that created a culture of effort, not entitlement. He said we knew we had to be exceptional, or we would not survive. And yeah, maybe it was tough. But look at the result. From fishing villages to 90% home ownership. From $463 per capita to over $90,000. Today, Singapore manages over $4 trillion in assets. It's home to over 200 banks. Its currency is one of the most stable in the world. But none of that was guaranteed. They built it all without oil, without gold, without natural resources. They did it with discipline, trust, and long-term thinking. From a colonial backwater to one of the richest, safest, most functional countries on earth.
Today, this is our modern city. 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis.